This week in health, we're running out of Adderall, we're running out of cancer drugs, sleep apnea absolutely destroys the brain, and is it possible that weight loss can actually lead to a premature death? But also, so can sugar. Let's talk about it. Well, it should come as no surprise that added sugars are terrible for you and I, but recently they just did a study where they looked at 73 meta-analyses, basically looking at a total of 88,000 patients, and what sugar actually does to the body. And they found an increased risk for things like cancer and Alzheimer's disease, type 2 diabetes, and so many other things. In fact, there was a total of 45 different increased risks. So it just goes to show, cut down those added sugars. And in our society today, I know that's way easier said than done. I mean, you go to any food store or go to any restaurant and they ask if you want a soda, right? Soda is one of the biggest causes of added sugars that we have today. And the American guidelines for what we should eat, the dietary guidelines in America says 10% of calories can come from added sugars. So that means if you're eating a 2,000 calorie diet, which is about average, that 200 of your calories can come from added sugars. But to me, that's just insane, first of all. There's no room for that amount of added sugars in a healthy person's diet. So if you want to be at peak optimized health, lower that 10% number to 2%, 1%, 0%. Me personally, my added sugars come from, my coffee, but today is the last day I'm drinking coffee. I'm releasing a video about it tomorrow, actually, the reasons why I chose to stop drinking coffee. But it doesn't come from the coffee itself, it comes from the creamer that I put in the coffee, which just goes to show we have to watch our drinks more than the food that we eat when it comes to added sugar in most cases. Now, that doesn't mean there's no added sugar in food. Obviously, pay attention to your food as well. But from what I'm seeing, the drinks are the real culprit for why we have added sugar in our diet. And it's very easy to cut it out, in my opinion. I mean, if you're addicted to sugar, it's obviously a completely different story. But me personally, all of the sugar that I eat is natural sugar that comes from fruits. And that's by design. That's on purpose, right? I'll have a banana in my oatmeal and blueberries in my oatmeal. Now that's some sugar in my diet, but it's not added sugar. And that's the big difference here. That's the key to this problem. The really weird part is when you change your diet, you stop eating added sugars, things like blueberries and apples all of a sudden seem insanely sweet and delicious. Our body basically gets used to a level of sweetness. Now, if you're eating ice cream every day, then you're not actually going to have that same pattern, right? You'll have a sweet tooth, so you'll know how much sugar you can take and you'll get used to that level of sugar. But if you cut that out and all you get your sugar from is fruits, before you know it, a fruit is like the most delicious treat you could ever have, which is pretty crazy because it just goes to show how our body gets used to the different levels that we operate at. Really interesting stuff, but cut out those added sugars. It's been tied to so many health problems later on down the road. And I know it's hard because it's not the type of health problems where you wake up tomorrow and everything is messed up or you get sick and it's just everything is out the window. It's more of a long-term thing that builds over time and gets worse and worse and worse. But we want to cut those added sugars today so that in the future you can have a longer health span and a longer lifespan. The study was recently published that links weight loss to premature death. Now, this is in individuals over the age of 65 or 70 years old. And when they saw that a sudden weight loss of 5% or more increased the premature risk of death by 30%. It was actually 33% in men, 26% in women. But what this tells us is not what we think, okay? We need to be careful. I don't like the headline of this article that there's unintentional weight loss. That's the key word is unintentional, right? Because it basically points to things like muscle loss or bone density loss, right? We're not talking about if you have increased levels of activity, which this study did not take into account at all. So I'm assuming that a lot of this is coming from people that are suddenly losing weight from just a loss of muscle mass, maybe malnutrition, maybe a loss of bone mass. See, those are big red flags that happen later in life, and that could cause your body to decline at a much faster rate. And we know for a fact that, bone loss and muscle loss, these things happen as we age. That's completely normal. And that's why when we're exercising at an older age, we need to be exercising to maintain muscle, not really to grow muscle. You're not trying to get jacked when you're 60 years old. You're just trying to keep the muscle that's already there for a longer time so you can continue to do your day-to-day tasks comfortably, including grocery shopping and picking up your grandchildren and going for a walk and walking the dog, just simple things like that. You need to be able to continue to do those things. You need some level of muscle mass to do that. But our muscle mass starts to degrade at about age 40 and up. We need to be able to combat that using exercise. And that's why people like Peter Attia wrote the book Outlive recently. I've been loving that book, and he points to the fact that exercise is probably the top number one thing that we can do in order to fight against premature death. And so it's important to realize that when they say unintentional weight loss, they're not saying these people started exercising more and started burning more calories and lost weight and then died. They're saying these people are already old enough where they're not doing very much physical activity, and then their body starts to go downhill and they start to, do even less physical activity. They get malnourished, their muscle loss goes up, their bone density loss goes up, and eventually they decay into nothingness and they die. So that is the risk of premature death. It's not like these people are being physically active and it's causing them to lose a bunch of weight and then they die. That would be a completely different cause. But they found that this is linked to death from cancer and from cardiovascular disease and from all the normal top killers that we think about when it comes to losing a large amount of weight in a short period of time. I guess the point of the article is to say if you notice someone lose a bunch of weight really quickly and they're in their older ages, be prepared for a death. I don't really know why they wrote this article. It feels misleading and kind of strange to write about this because it doesn't really say anything. It just says the things that we already know, which is people lose muscle mass, they lose bone density, and they lose weight as they get older. But they're saying it's linked to an increased risk of death, which I think it means like within a short period of time before dying, this will happen. So interesting stuff, but I don't like the title of it because it's basically saying weight loss will kill you so that they get more clicks on the article. It's not really true. What they mean to say is unintentional weight loss that comes out of nowhere, that's based on muscle loss, bone loss, and malnourished individuals. They're on a slippery slope and they're going to die soon. That's pretty common sense and makes complete sense to most people. So it's just kind of a silly article in my opinion. Sleep apnea has been linked to early cognitive decline. Now, sleep apnea is when you stop breathing in your sleep for short periods of time. And this makes perfect sense that it would lead to cognitive decline as a lack of oxygen leading to the brain during your sleep, right? So if you have that happen every night over a period of time, and you have these bursts where there's no oxygen reaching your brain, it makes sense to me that the brain would start to suffer over a long period of time. Now, they just did a study with about 27 people, a very small study, but they found things like, they're cognitively less sharp. They're not able to build relationships in healthy ways. They're a little bit, they forget things more often. Their brain doesn't work as well as those that don't have sleep apnea. Now, the real problem here, the underlying problem, is that about 80 to 90% of people don't even know that they have sleep apnea. One key thing that I think is important to look out for is if you wake up in the morning and have an extremely dry mouth, it's likely that you could have sleep apnea, because a lot of people with sleep apnea, they breathe with their mouth open instead of through their nose, and they end up stopping breathing. Their throat closes every now and then, and they stop breathing, and the oxygen can't get to their brain for that short period of time. And one of the easiest ways to fix this is with a CPAP machine, which basically pushes air into your throat to keep it open the whole time, rather than letting it close over, uh, you know, multiple times per night. Another way to fix this is to lose weight. They found that people that are overweight or obese have a more difficult time with sleep apnea. They have sleep apnea more often and more of the time. So it's very important to lose weight if you're overweight and you have sleep apnea, if you want to keep your marbles. So it's no surprise to me that sleep apnea can really shorten your brain health, and that's just how it is. I mean, one of the most important things that we do for our brain is sleep every night. So if that sleep is interrupted in any type of way, that will affect your brain, short term and long term. And the key here is long term. Alzheimer's disease, dementia, these things are one of the scariest diseases on earth. Imagine losing your very essence of self because you cannot remember anything. That terrifies me, and I'll do anything in my power to avoid that fate. And one thing that is in my power is getting a solid 8 to 9 hours of sleep every single night, avoiding sleep apnea, understanding sleep apnea and the signs of it so that I can do something about it if I do have sleep apnea. And that's something that I want for you and your health as well. So if you believe you have sleep apnea, get it checked out, right? There's different things you can do to get a sleep study, or if you have a partner, they can tell you, hey, do I have sleep apnea? Do I stop breathing in the middle of the night? Do I breathe with my mouth open when I'm sleeping? These questions can go a long way. One thing that can really help too is to just simply tape your mouth shut. They have products now called mouth tape. They have products that can allow you to keep your mouth shut while you're sleeping, so you're constantly breathing through your nose. Nose breathing has been linked to a lot of different health benefits. Even the shape of your face can change from nose breathing, and it allows you to avoid sleep apnea because you're breathing through your nose, and your throat doesn't close over because you're just breathing in and out through your nose most of the night, or all of the night ideally. So I've been focusing on nose breathing a lot while I'm sleeping. Even while I'm running, I go for a jog, I nose breathe the whole time. And the more often I nose breathe, the more likely it is that I can nose breathe when I have to when I'm sleeping, which is the most important thing, as we're discussing right now, to avoid that cognitive decline that comes from cutting off the oxygen to your brain every hour while you sleep. There's some major drug shortages going on for cancer patients where they're not able to get the drugs that they need in cancer. And one of the biggest problems here is that we don't really know why, because pharmaceutical industries are not very transparent with the clinicians that are treating their patients. We don't even know where these drugs are being manufactured, where they are, and why they can't be manufactured on time in order to help patients heal or at least stay alive a little bit longer. One of the main ones that are missing a lot is called Pluvicto, and it's a cancer drug for people with advanced prostate cancer. It helps them live quite longer if they use this drug, and they're not able to get it. And there has been deaths because of this shortage of cancer drugs, which is extremely sad and terrible to hear. Now, I know firsthand about shortages and manufacturing problems as I run a small business that helps people with Lyme disease. And we sell herbs to people with Lyme disease because we found that they're very beneficial and helpful. I had Lyme disease and I was able to heal from it using just an herbal regimen, diet, nutrition, healthy living, stress reduction techniques, meditation, all types of things like that. And we're having a hard time getting enough herbs to give to everybody that wants them. And, people keep trying to buy it, and I don't have any. And it's a real problem. And it makes me feel terrible as a nutritionist, as a coach, a health coach, to have to explain to people that I don't have what they need in order to heal right now because some third party manufacturer doesn't have what I need, so I can't get it from them. So these supply chain issues are going on all over the world in all different industries, and it's just really heartbreaking and not good. And I kind of don't really know why it's happening. I mean, if we follow the root all the way back to the root of the issue, we can see what the problem is. Maybe the supply is running out. Maybe the plants are not being grown as well or as quickly or as, profitably where the farmers are getting paid. Maybe there's a problem all the way back there, and that's allowing the manufacturers to not get enough product to then manufacture it, and then the manufacturers can't send it to the suppliers, and the suppliers can't supply it to their patients or to their health coach clients in my case. So it's just a really interesting problem. It's very sad. There's really nothing that we can do about it as civilians or as people that are just part of society, except for maybe look at the root cause of this and try to figure it out. I'm personally very invested in trying to find other ways to get the things that I need for my customers. So I've been reaching out to all different types of manufacturers, been asking the manufacturers where their suppliers are, what's going on with their suppliers. And I'm trying to get to the root cause of the issue so we can solve this problem for the people, at least in our small Lyme disease community. Now, obviously, I can't do this same thing with cancer drugs, and I can't step in for pharmaceutical companies in order to solve this problem. But it's just sad that we don't really know what's going on because the pharmaceutical companies are not transparent enough. See, that's one area where when I faced that challenge, I did it differently. I was extremely transparent with my customers. I told them, hey, I don't have any product left, and this is why. My manufacturers ran out, so I reached out to 5 other manufacturers. I told them the whole thing. I told them every single thing that was happening, and I told them everything along the way. I said, all right, we got one of our products in today. We're getting another one tomorrow. We're getting another one this week. Today, which is Friday, April 14th, I'm getting the final shipment of the product back in here so that Lyme Wars Herb Box will be back online. We'll be able to sell it again to all of our people. So I'm really excited about that, but really sad about this cancer drug shortage. And it's not the only shortage that exists. We're also seeing a huge shortage in the supply of Adderall in our country. This is interesting because if you go to any college campus in the world, I think you might find a supply of Adderall there. Now, Adderall is not necessarily a drug that will lead people to die if they don't have it. They might be seriously impacted in their mental health if they don't have it, especially the people that really have the true form of ADHD that cannot function properly in society without Adderall or Ritalin or whatever they need in order to have their medication, right? Now, why is this shortage happening? Well, this is a different one, and it's a little bit interesting. See, this is a controlled substance that has the high potential to be abused or overused by many people. And we know for a fact that there's famous people and there's people in media and in entertainment and lots of different sectors, financial industry, that like to use Adderall as a stimulant to keep them awake for longer, to work harder, to stay more focused. And they don't necessarily need it as a patient of ADHD. And there's even a black market for Adderall, which I'm sure doesn't always help the supply. Now, part of the problem is there's a limit on how much Adderall can be manufactured in this country right now. And recently, the amount of ADHD diagnoses has gone way up, especially among women and young girls. They're seeing a big increase in the prescription of Adderall and the diagnosis of ADHD. Now, this is very interesting, and I don't really know what to do about this, right? What should we do? What could we possibly do? Maybe we should stop allowing people who don't need Adderall to use Adderall recreationally. I know that's easier said than done. People will get their hands on it if they feel like they need it or if they want it. We've seen, people in sports will use it, people in entertainment will use it, the financial industry. There's a lot of use of Adderall across the board to get more things done, to stay focused, to stay longer, to work harder. And it's just not a good way to be. There's other things you can do in your lifestyle in order to live a healthier, more prosperous lifestyle without doing Adderall in order to get there. Now, I'm not saying people with ADHD should not have the ability to take Adderall, although, in my opinion, it's overprescribed. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion. If you don't agree, that's fine. I want to hear about it, actually. Post it in the comments below. Let's have a dialogue about what do you think about Adderall and about the prescriptions being written for people that have ADHD, but maybe they're just hyper. Maybe they just have a lot of energy. I know that a lot of boys are written prescriptions for ADHD when they're very, very young, and they're just rambunctious. They have a lot of energy. They want to go outside. They want to do other things. We're told to sit still at a desk all day long and listen to a teacher that's boring us to death. Okay? It's no surprise that the kid wants to get up and run around and go do something else and be all fidgety and crazy. It's not necessarily ADHD. Now, take that and then add TikTok culture and short culture into that, where we're watching videos that are 30 seconds long to 60 seconds long all day long. And we could go from seeing a cat jump from the ground to the table, and then we switch and we're seeing people dance, and then we switch again and we're seeing people from another country doing this ritual, and then we switch again and we see it could be anything. We're giving ourselves ADHD by constantly consuming these short clips in this really fast way, where we're seeing all these different types of imagery all the time around us. It's no wonder we can't focus. Take a sane person that says they can't focus, they have ADHD, etc. Ask them to get off TikTok, no short videos, meditate every single day for 30 minutes. Do that for 2 months, and then tell me if you feel more focused, if you feel like you have ADHD or not. Now, I'm not saying you can easily do that with a child, but what I am saying is I feel that it's overprescribed for some people that are just consuming too much TikTok and just completely entranced and enwrapped in this world around us where there's dings and our phone is going off and our emails and there's a notification over here from Slack, and there's a notification over here from whatever, some other chat. Like, there's a million things going on all around us all the time with all the screens. We give ourselves ADHD. And this channel, I come back to this in almost every video, but we have to take personal responsibility for everything in our health and in our life. If we notice ourselves getting ADHD, it is not our doctor's problem. It is not necessarily, run to the doctor and get a prescription written to get that medication to fix your problem. Maybe it's just you. Now, I know that hurts a lot of people's feelings, but look in the mirror. Maybe it's just you. Maybe you need to change your habits. Maybe you need to fix the problem yourself. Maybe there's things that you're doing that are leading you down that path of ADHD that you can then course correct. Our brains have an amazing level of neuroplasticity. We can change our brains. We can change our thoughts. We can change the way the brain works by doing different things, by creating different habits. So you're never just stuck with what you believe is adult onset ADHD when in fact you're scrolling Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, every single social media app all day long and wonder why you have ADHD. Our brains are not meant for that much imagery. They're not meant to see all of these crazy things going on around us all the time. Never before in human history have we had that ability, right? We saw our tribe, we saw our kids, our family, our small tribe, and the landscape that was around us, and we lived and survived there. We didn't have access to all of this, imagery of basically the entire world at our fingertips. And I think we're seeing the effects of that very right in front of us. And in fact, it's sad to me that people are being prescribed medication for things like anxiety and things like ADHD at the drop of a hat today. Because these companies, they want to make money. They want you to be sick. They want you to be prescribed. They want you to have that diagnosis so that they can provide the solution to your problem. When in reality, it all comes back to personal responsibility for your problem and doing the things that will give you a different outcome. I hope this video helps someone, and I know it's probably going to piss some people off. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. I'm uploading a bunch of videos lately, and once a week I'll do this where we go into the health news of the week. And the goal is to allow us to optimize our health to the highest level. The goal is also to share what's going on in the world of health and be very transparent and honest about my opinion about these facts so that we can decide what we should do in order to fix these problems for ourselves mainly and in society secondarily. So hopefully this helps you out. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. My name is Ryan Kearns. This is Health Spark. Hit the subscribe button on your way out. Bye-bye.